Welcome to Biology Champion. So today we're going to learn about primates. So just before we start today's lesson, if you're watching this video individual as an individual, all right, just get your book and your pen to write down important information and try to engage in the activities of the lesson. If you're watching it in form of a group, you can sit down in a group and be able to interact on this video. And if you're watching it, if you're a teacher and using this video to teach your students, all right, so just follow the instructions, follow the activities of the video so that the students can get the best out of the lesson. All right, so let's jump into the video. All right, so today's date is just 28th of August 2026. So it depends on when you're watching the video, so you can update the time and the date. All right, so me, I'm just putting there as a timestamp just for me to come back to the video and remember when I actually made this video. All right, okay, so we're going to learn about primate today, and our objective today, with the major focus, is to define what primate is and be able to state the major characteristics of primates. So expect it to be able to explain the features of primates and how they are adapted to life, and identify example of primates. And of course, we're going to do some activities during the lesson, and we're going to answer some class activities for us to test if we really understand what we are learning. Okay, so before learning primates, we need to understand what mammals is. We need to know what are mammals and some of those characteristics of mammals. So I'm going to give you just a few seconds to answer these questions, these two multiple choice questions, to see if we understand some basic info about mammals. Because primates are mammals, all right? So look at those questions and see how you can answer it. Okay, so you can pause the video and answer this question. So, which feature is characteristics of mammals? So the first one will have a dry scaly covering the body, dry scales covering the body, gills for respiration, feathers covering the body, and mammary glands producing milk. So in my last video, if you check class mammals, you can understand that I make reference to these are the group that only produces what milk. Okay, so what they do is they produce this milk and feed the young ones. All right. So which organ is primarily responsible for gaseous exchange in mammals? You have your lungs, you have your skin, you have your trachea tubes, you have your gills. So of course, they use the lungs for breathing, unlike some organisms like your toads that use skins for continuous respiration. Okay, so now I want you to ponder out this question and tell me, if humans, monkeys, and bats are all mammals, what special group does this human being belong to? You can pause the video and think about this question. If humans, monkey, and bat are all mammals, what special group does the human being belong to? Of course, we belong to primates, which is the major focus of today's lesson. Okay, we're all primates. All right. So what are primates? All right. So primates are group. So they belong to an order, primates. All right. So it's a group of mammals that includes you have a human, monkeys, apes, and related animals such as the lemurs. So what you're going to do for me right now, I want you to write this down in your book and keep this note as a new information. All right. So write it down in your book. I'm going to give you a few seconds to write this down so you cannot forget about this information. In case you get tired of coming back to the video or you don't have an opportunity to get to the video, so you can write this important information down in your books. So you can pause the video at this point and just write this information in your book. So we'll have all the information, we'll have other pictures of this organism. So we'll have one, this is a lemur. All right. So this is a monkey and this is your ape. Okay. So the next activity we need to do right now. Now, I'll give you some example of primates. You've seen the monkeys, the apes, the lemur, and humans, which are primate. So this is an activity one. So we'll have different picture of different animals. I want you to select which of them belongs to the primates and which of them are not primates. So look at it to figure it out while I make my own selection to see if we had the same selection. So this is human. You have a dog. You have a monkeys. You have a cat. You have a gorilla. You have the monkey, and these your cows. So which of them belongs to primate? So 10 seconds. Identify only the animals that belong to the other primates. Okay. So these are all primates. Your cats are not primates. Cats are mammals. Your dogs, they're not primates. They don't have the characteristics of primates. All right. So these are all primates because they all share similar characteristics that made them to belong to this order known as the primates. All right. So what do these animals have in common? So at this point, this is what we need to. This takes also the characteristics of primates for us to see those characteristics that make these animals to have these shared characteristics and make them similar for one primate to another. Okay, so the first one is they have well developed eyes. They have eyes for vision, and if you look at it, they have two eyes, which made them to have a nice view. So undergo a kind of vision, we call it binocular. So with the binocular, they can be easily to see distance, to judge distance, to know if something is very close to them, if something is very far from them. So they use these two eyes to be able to to detect this change that occur between us distance between different objects. Okay, so why would an animal living in trees benefit from good depth perception? You're in the tree, you can easily tell that okay, I'm at this height of this tree, or I'm very close to the ground. How can they be able to detect the perception of using these two eyes? How? Why would an animal living in trees benefit from good depth perception? Can you tell the height of one branch to another, the distance between one tree to another, because they jump from one tree to another? How can I actually achieve this? So think about this. Pause the video and think about it. All right. So it helps animals judge distances when moving or jumping between branches. Okay. So because they have binocular vision, they can easily judge between what branches and between the height of one tree to another, the distance between one tree to another, and the branches between one tree to another. Okay, now what activity to distance challenge? So, for example, if you hold up two objects at different distance, let me say two cup. So these two cups have two distance. Okay, so how can you usually tell the distance between one another? All right. Okay, so it gives you clear example, clear explanation of what I said in the previous slide. So with this, which object is closer? How does using both eyes help you judge the distance of two different objects? So you can think about this question, you can pause the video and just ponder about it while I give you what I think about the answer. Okay, so now we have two eyes, this is binocular. So if we stand at this point here, it depends on where you're standing, and that determines how far you are from the object. So if you stand at this point, so you can see this cup is more further than this cup that's around this point. So with your eyes, you can with your binocular vision, you can easily determine which object is far from the other object. So that's why this eyes of primates is very important for them to judge the distance between two things. This brings us to the binocular vision. Okay, so primates, they have flexible hands and feet, very flexible. So the hands can easily grab, and the feet can easily grab the branch. Okay, so this is one important thing. But one thing you need to understand is that not all primates have a feet that is very flexible. Like we humans, we don't have a feet that is flexible. Our feet is designed for walking and running and jumping. Okay, so not all primates have that features because we humans, our is more developed and designed for something different. Okay, so now they can use their limbs they have limbs, these are the limbs, they have four limbs and the hind limbs. So now limbs can be used to climb, for gripping branches, for climbing, and for holding objects, and also help for manipulating food. So manipulating food, for example, they have banana. You can hold the banana like this and be able to open the banana and eat it. So they use this hand, just something we humans can also do. We peel out a banana and, and feed on it. So they use these features to undergo all those activities, which is very important. So they have large and well developed brain, which makes them to be able to learn. It helps them in learning. They can learn some kind of behavior. They have this memory for them to remember things. For example, they can see the owner or someone that's very close to them. Then they can remember that person because they have a very nice memory. They have problem solving skills, coordination, and complex social behavior. You can see them working in groups. You can see them taking care of the young ones. You can see them hiding from prey together. You can see them cooperating to achieve a particular goal. This is one of those activities and one of those features they possess because they have a large and well developed brain. Okay, so activities. Just for example, now you have a piece of food inside a transparent container that cannot be opened by hand. What could you use to get it out? So I want you to think about what you think you can actually use to get it out using the ideology of having a well developed brain and utilizing it in solving problems. So you can pause this video at this point and think about the possible way you can use to solve this problem. Okay, so one of those things you can do if you cannot use your hand to open it, you can actually use other tools which is designed to open a container like this. Okay, or sometimes if you cannot use your hand to just open it, you can check and think about, does this container have something I can screw out? So you can easily open the top part and just screw it. That's how what your brain can do to help you to solve problems. You think about it. So this is one of those things that primates have. Understand? So not all primates have the ideology to say, okay, now a monkey can see this container. What they can do is just to push it around to see if it's going to break. So that's also a problem solving skill. We human being, we can just decide to look for a knife and try to open it from the top. So that's what we call problem solving skills. So just for you to understand what I was trying to explain in the previous slide. Okay, so the next thing, they have different type of teeth. So very common teeth that we know for primates, to have the incisors, which is designed for different reasons. You have your canine, you have your premolar, and you have your molar. All right. So all these teeth are primates. You see, they have heterodont. Means heterodont means they have different kinds. Homodont means the same. Heterodont means they're different kind of teeth for different uh, activities and different reasons. Okay, so some is for biting, some for grinding, some is for chewing. So they all have different function. So when you see heterodon means they have what different types of teeth. So it's very important to write this down in your book so you can remember what the term heterodont mean in case you come across it in any place. Okay, so it's very important to get that point. So the next thing again we need to take into consideration is, why would having different types of teeth be very useful? So I want you to think about this. I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about the answer. Why would having different type of teeth be very useful? It's just similar to what we discussed in the previous slide. Very similar. Okay, so different teeth perform different functions, such as cutting, tearing, and grinding. All right, cutting, tearing, and grinding. So that's why you have different teeth which are designed. They have different structure and different shape because the architect is made to perform a different and specific function in the tooth. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so the next one. Now, primates, they have nails rather than claws. Claws, animals have different claws. Let me see your lions. They have claws because they use the claws to catch a prey, tear the prey apart, and they feed on the prey. But primates, they have nails rather than claws. Okay, so this nails is used for gripping, handling food, and also manipulating objects. So that's the importance of that. Okay, so I want you to think about this question. What would be difficult to do if our fingers have large claws instead of nails? I want you to ponder on this and just think that if you have a kind of claws like this, what are those things you feel is going to be very difficult for you to do? Okay, so for me, I think I'll find it very difficult to open the door using the keys. I think it's very difficult for me to wash my clothes. It's going to be very difficult for me to be able to eat my food, the food I normally use my hand to swallow. then I think it's very difficult for me to sweep around, and shaking somebody is going to be very weird. Okay, so that's why human beings are actually designed to carry out some specific activities. So we human beings we don't need clothes because I'm going to struggle for a lot of activities. All right, so that's why we are designed to have nails rather than using claws like some animal. We're not although we're actually carnivorous anyway. What carnivorous are herbivorous. That's why we're called omnivorous animal, because we eat both sects of food. Okay, so but we have our own special way of doing that. Instead of using our claws, instead of using having the claws to tear our food, we have our hand we designed to hold a knife to cut the food, cut our meat and chew. So all designed for different reasons. Okay, very good. So now primates they stand upright, have this upright posture. Okay, so in some primates they have this posture. Right? Some may not really have this, but for most primates they are also known to have this upright. So you, when human being, will stand upright, but some people have some bad posture depending on what you'll be doing over time. Okay, so you can have a bad posture depending on your activities you undergo, or maybe your kind of lifestyle. All right, but primates normally they have what we call the upright posture. They stand upright. Okay, so this is one of those things you need to know. Just for example, you go into the bush, you see an animal that looks very different, but they stand just like you and they look somehow like you. Trust me, you're going to have a very great scare before you know that okay, this is maybe it's chimpanzee or a babu or or whatnot. Okay, so primates are social animals. They're social animals because they care for the young ones. They communicate with one another. They groom one another. They protect the members of the group. They care for the young one, and they also establish social relationship. So that's make them very, very what unique. All right. So now these are activities. So I'm going to explain what you're supposed to do in these activities. So if you answer this question, if you're watching the video as an individual, you can think about it, think for yourself. So the first thing you think for yourself, think about this question I'm going to display right now. Then if you're watching it as a group or as a classroom, the next thing you have to do is what pair with a partner and think about and discuss about the question like, what do you think about this? After which you're expected to share what you think about this question to the whole class. So if you're watching this video as a classroom, so this is an activity that's going to be very nice for you guys to do. So you think about it for 1 minute. The next thing you go to your partner and no think about it for 30 seconds. Then you go to your partner and have a discussion about the question for 1 minute. Then afterwards, the teacher will tell you that, hey, can you share the whole class? What do you think about this? Okay, so there's a question. Why might living in a group increase the survival chances of primates? They have a group, they stay together, they communicate with each other. So why do you think this is going to help them to increase the survival chances of primates? Don't forget that in every habitat, there are predators, and a primate can be a prey to a particular predators. So how do you think that living in a group will actually help them to survive more than living alone? So think about this. So you can pause this video at this point and think about this. Why I give my own answer. So if you're watching the video from home, in the comment section, you can actually write your answer in the comment section, which can be different from what I'm going to display as my own answer. So you can pause this video at this point. Okay. So what I think, this is my own view. What I think is now protection from predator. So with this, they can protect each other from predator to a certain degree. And in terms of finding food, they can cooperate together and find food so they can survive. This helps them for what? For caring for the young ones. So when you care for the young ones, there's the high chances that those young ones will be able to survive for a very long time. One others about danger and social learning. So you can learn together and do things together. So this is why it's very important for them to have a social group to live together so they can actually what have high chances of surviving. And don't forget that most primarily monkeys they are very advantageous because what they stay in trees. So with that, they can easily learn that okay, if the prey is coming, they can make a sound and tell the rest of them that hey, there's something there's a predator or there's an intruder in our community or in our habitat. So once you allow them, what happens? They jump to the tree, they go very high when they know you cannot get them. So that is kind of what is survival instinct. So it's very, very important for them. Okay. So now this is just a question I want you to understand. So it's a fill in the gap question. Now I have some answer bank. So you can look at this answers here and just chuck it into the gaps. Okay, so I want to pause the video at this point and put the correct answer there. Okay, so primates generally have dash facing eyes. So they have forward facing eyes. Okay, the ability to see depth using both eyes is known as what vision? That's called the binocular vision. Primates have a well-developed dash which support learning, memory, and problem solving. They have a well-developed brain. Most primates have dash instead of sharp claws on the finger and toes. They have what? Nails. The ability of the thumb to move against the other fingers is called what? It's called opposable. Many primates live in dash groups and interact closely with one another. Social group. So if you're able to get this question, everything correct, well done. It means you actually understand what I'm explaining. And well done to you. That's a big stuff for you. Okay. So next activity, what you need to do for me. Now in the book, what you have to do, you have just 2 minutes to write 5 characteristics of primates without looking at your notes. All right, 5 characteristics of primates, and I'll just give you just a few seconds to write this down. To write 5 characteristics, you don't have to write a whole lot. Just write those 5 characteristics. So you can pause the video at this point and write the 5 characteristics in your book. Okay, so these are one of those characteristics. Yeah, I'll just give you 8 in case you know how in case you cannot remember most of them. So they have forward-facing eyes. They have good binocular to depth vision. They have flexible limbs and digits. Flexible, well-developed brain for thinking and making decisions. Opposable digits in many species. Nails rather than claws on many digits. Different types of teeth like incisors, canine, premolars, and molars. And good hand-eye coordination. So they have good coordination for doing a lot of things. Okay, so just end of lesson. So just kind of just to let you know if you really understand what we're doing. So just one question: which combination best describe important adaptation commonly associated with primates? So the first one is forward-facing eyes, flexible digits, and well-developed brain. Gills, fins, and streamlined bodies. Feathers, wings, and hollow bones. Dry scales and external fertilization and gills. So I'm not going to give you the answer to those questions. So in the comment section, the teacher can give you the answer. In the comment section, just put the correct answer and tell me which of them you think is correct for this last one. Okay, so I'm going to end this video at this point. So I'm very happy that I've made this video, and I hope that you're going to subscribe to my channel and keep watching my videos. So my video tend to improve every way. I try to improve the video to see how it suits students. It suits students who want to homeschool, sit down at home and learn, and students who learn in group or who are preparing for exams. Okay. So I have a little package in my channel. So as you keep subscribing and watching my videos, you tend to come across other things and it makes you to understand biology properly. Okay. So I'm going to see you next time in my video. And thank you for watching this video to this point. Please just put the correct answer. Put your answer in the comment section, and I'll try my best to comment and give you a thumbs up if your answer is correct. Okay, thank you, and see you next time.